All right, so now we need to make some poses for these. So I'll make a new folder here for held objects called bow. And I mean, if you want to, you can like consolidate these all into one specific folder. But I'm kind of like organizing things and keeping things separated to some extent. That's just me. You can, you know, do stuff however you want. So I'm going to call that left hand. And I'll call this poses. Now, before we do that, we're going to come out here to this main anim folder. If you're making this for the UEFN, then, and I'll show you guys how to make modified versions of these for your characters or whatever. But if you're making modified versions of these for your characters, then you're probably going to want to get this stand idle pose and retarget it to your character. And I'll go over that process later. I don't really like that method. It's pretty hacky, and when you retarget it back, and then during runtime when it gets retargeted back to them, there's going to be some amount of inaccuracy there that's introduced into the equation because you're retargeting it to the UEFN, and then during runtime you're retargeting it back to them. But it's the best way to address the fact that things do get offset without having to try to rely on IK heavily, which isn't really a great tool for fixing things related to animation. I mean, it's helpful for helping you grab things or, stuff like that, but it's not a crutch. But anyway, we're going to get this and we're going to copy this into the boat, and it did it again. I wasn't trying to drag it into the scene. I don't know why it was doing that. I'm just going to drag it over here into this folder, and I'm going to copy. And I'm just going to duplicate it. And I'm going to call it bow aiming. And then I guess I'll call that one bow idle ready. And then this one will be called bow moving ready. Actually, yeah, I'm thinking maybe it might, we'll do it like this. That's fine. It's not going to be the end of the world. I think what we're going to end up wanting to do is modify this. I'll probably need to modify this control rig. Let me check this real quick. This is the control rig I'd be baking it to. I don't know if I think I've set this up for, yeah, okay, never mind. I don't need to modify it. Right, I have a weapon L control. Good. Now, there's a lot of situations where you would actually want to animate the weapon bone that the weapon is attached to. But whenever you start using live retargeted characters, you can't really accurately retarget something like that. It's just not possible. Using that hacking method, maybe, you could probably get away with it. But there's a lot of inconsistencies between characters and skeleton conventions that they use. So I can't exactly say, okay, I know that every single character that every user of this project is going to use will always have an unweighted weapon R bone attached to their hand R. I can't, I can't make that assumption because the odds are that there's going to be a good majority of people who will be using characters who do not have those bones. And so I wouldn't be able to support the animating of that bone for those characters if, obviously if they don't have that bone. So, there's only so much I can do as far as that goes. So anyway, what we're going to do is we created this. I just named it. We're going to go ahead and bake this. And we're going to start making our animation. So first off, what we're going to do is I'm going to close that. I'm going to come over here to my gunbow blueprint. Browse to it. So get off my screen, dude. And I'm going to drag it into the world. I'm going to go to add with it selected in the world. I'm going to go to add and add actor to track with it. If it's selected, it'll show up right here. Add BP gunbow 2. Now you can right click on this and go to convert selected bindings to spawnable, and it'll only exist within the sequence. Whenever we open the sequence again, it'll be here, exactly where it is now. Or wherever, we left it and saved it at whenever we last saved the sequence. And I'll show you that here in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to the UEF and bow aiming. And I'm going to attach it to the weapon L. And now and you'll see it's attached to that weapon bone. And that blue control here is the control I can use to move that around, okay? So I'm going to save this and close it just so that I can show you. You see how it's gone? The bow is gone. It's no longer here. But if I come back over here to this pose and I go to open level sequence, you'll see it's still here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this last keyframe. I do that for a reason, actually. And the reason why is because I'm only making a pose. So I don't need, 2 keyed frames. I only need 1. And then you'll see I extended this attach beyond the last frame. If I didn't, then it would become unattached on the last frame. And if I had the hand constrained to it during that, then then the last frame would have the hand off and over and into oblivion way over here somewhere, because that's where the bow went whenever it became unattached. It's just, you have to be aware of little quirks and stuff like that whenever you're operating an Unreal Engine. Their animation system can be a little quirky and janky at times. Under my global control, and you don't have to do it from here, actually. You can come over here and you see this little octagon or whatever, pentagon or whatever you want to call this shape. You'll see over here, you'll see these attributes. You can check these and it'll switch from FK on the arms to IK. Just in case you don't know what FK is. FK is where you can only rotate them. If you try to move them, You see what happens? Yeah, because it doesn't solve for their location like that. But if you come over here and you switch it to IK and you select this IK control, you'll see it automatically solves the rotations for you. You see. But, you know, it still can't make it reach a target that it just simply can't reach. If the arm's not long enough to reach it, you can't reach it. Simple physics. Now you can add stretch, and that'll let you stretch it. You see. Now this isn't skinned. These arms are made up of components, so they come apart. But if this were like a metahuman, for example, the arm would just stretch all the way down there. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that's how that works. So let me just undo this. I'm just pressing Control Z. I keyed a lot of dumb frames here. There you go. And I'll just save that. And then I'll press Control tilde. Or you can come over here to this icon and switch it. If you see the globe, it's in world space, which means it's oriented to this gizmo right here. But if you press it again, it'll switch it to local space, and then it'll be local to the actual bone rather than the world. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put this in local space. You've seen that switched. And now I'm just going to move it forward. And I have snapping on right now, but you might want to turn snapping off. Same with the rotation and stuff. Normally I keep it on unless it becomes a problem. So I'm going to press G so I can see better here real quick. I don't know what's what and where's this stuff at. Actually, it looks like this bow is actually upside down, isn't it? Yeah, it sure is. Okay. Yeah, it's supposed to be like that. Okay. Now, I'm not going to try to make this too perfect. This is a kind of makeshift bow here anyway, so it's not like hyper realistic or anything. Okay. Yeah, something like that, I guess. Ought to be good. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll end up saving this as a pose or whatever. That way we can always re-reference it. But since this is the aiming pose, they actually need to be aiming here. So one thing that you need to understand about aiming is that it's only going to be as accurate as it actually is in this pose. I'm switching between world and local. Right now I'm in world space. To some degree, like setting things position relative to the character can be easier to do in world space. You can also think of it kind of like component space, since the component is relative to the actual world coordinates, which is, I guess, a nice little bonus there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this right-hand side view, or the back view, I mean. And we need this to be straight right here. and I have this in like the snapping rotation, and it's not letting me align this perfectly. So what I need actually is I need it to be aligned with like the up and down right here needs to be aligned with the Z, and from the top it needs to be aligned with the Y, if that makes sense. And the reason why is because Y is forward. So if you want your aim offset, whenever he's aiming, whenever you calculate your aim, if you want it to actually be accurate, then it needs to be actually accurate inside of here. Okay. Uh, it's mathematical, guys. So that's something to note whenever it comes to aim offsets. You got to keep stuff like that in mind, that it is mathematical. So you'll see this is fairly straight right now. Let me just go into my top view and double check. I need this to be more. And let me press G. It doesn't look like it's aligned right there real well. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Sometimes if you undo stuff, guys, it'll screw stuff up. It looks like I screwed stuff up. I don't know how. Oh, I never set my key. Okay, so don't make that mistake. Make sure that this right here is selected. Otherwise, you have to manually be keying your frames. So what happened with me is I wasn't keying my frames, and now as you can see, uh, everything undid itself. So you can set that to 1 so that you can see the grid better and get it more precisely aligned. And I think that's pretty, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Let me just undo that snapping. Yeah, that's pretty much aligned right there. If I go to the right, you'll see it's actually sideways. And I am rotating this in world space, in case you didn't notice. I'm trying to get it aligned right here to where this right here and this right here is aligned flat with this line that's going up and down. If you want this to be accurate, then you have to unfortunately go through these steps. You don't have to have it pinpoint accurate, just for, relatively just get it as about as accurate as you can get it, because you are somewhat eyeballing it. So, and that seems pretty accurate. Now that you have that, you can start actually posing the character. This part right here was important for the aiming itself. You just need that to be aligned properly. Now this is going to be the tricky part, because when you're moving, if you layer pelvis rotations, then it can cause the legs to look funny when you're running. And that's the reason why it's so much harder to do this with a bow, because when you're drawing the bow, let's just go and look at some references. And you'll notice when they have the bow drawn right here, they're standing sideways. They're standing sideways at all times when they're aiming. Every one of them, you'll see that they're basically standing straight sideways, and that's what makes it so difficult. You see how they're standing completely sideways, and that makes it really difficult to do to maintain this right here while you're running. You understand? Yeah, that's the problem. So we can try to get it to be about as good as I guess we can. The problem is if we rotate this too much, then it starts looking weird relative to this right here. You can right click and let's see. Oh, that's okay, right. I'm not doing this additively. Before we go any further, let's actually go back up here. And if you haven't started this already, then make sure that you always create an additive track on top of your base track. It just makes things easier, especially whenever you're just only making a single pose. It's just so much easier because you can quickly make adjustments to your pose. Like say, for example, if I rotate this like this and I'm like, okay, I don't like that. I can right click on this and key 0 value and it puts it back like it was. So what I'll probably do is I'll do 30 here and 10 here and 5 here. And I'm hoping maybe that prevents it from looking too weird on the lower body. Like whenever they're running. Okay, that was weird. Don't know what caused that weird bug. But yeah, we'll want to kind of find it weird how left is actually front and front is actually like the side. It's kind of weird, but I'll put this something like that. I think that's probably about good. And you can select this right here and it'll prevent you from selecting anything in the background on accident. I'm going to set this to 2.8, which is the smallest it goes. And I'm just going to rotate it back like that. Now you'll see that this becomes somewhat of a problem. And this can be a problem on any character, really. If your character has really poor weights around the shoulders and neck, this is going to create some serious problems for you. And I can tell you right now, if you're using character created characters, I've had serious problems trying to make poses like this for those characters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep this hand as far back, this hand right here as far back as I can. like so. That way I'm having to make as little adjustments to the shoulder area as possible, because it will cause serious problems. The problem with that, though, that is a problem. Okay, so I'm going to bake this bow to a control rig. And I'm going to create an additive track for that. That way I can, I'm going to grab this string here. And let's see. I'm not gonna rotate the number ones, but the other ones, I'll rotate those like that. Actually, I think it's okay to. I think that's okay right there. I mean, that's really pushing it, but let's see if I can get this onto the bow string without it looking weird, like over here in this area. See, I'm going to have to, it's just too close to the body, and I don't see how. That's what I was telling you guys about before, like the bow is really difficult to work. Well, make sure you're in world space when you're moving these together, like I'm moving them. I'm just wondering. I mean, it works, but then it comes out looking weird. That's the problem. So I'm trying to find a pose where it doesn't look weird. That's basically all I'm trying to do. I'm going to reset this. Make sure this isn't local when you're rotating it. And normally if you rotate this one up, it's normally good practice to rotate the other one down, but in this case it actually kind of makes it look weird right here if I do that. So maybe I'll not do that on this side. Yeah, that's too high and it comes out looking really weird. I'm gonna have to keep that bow lower. I tried to tell you this was, bows are difficult, guys, to pose characters with. Oh God, you see what happens whenever you have it in local space. That's what I was saying. Make sure it's in world space. Oops. Also make sure if you make sure to hold down shift and select, not control and select, because it will offset things. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what happened here. I was pretty... Oh, I never rotated this. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we want that to be... It looks like I need to reposition that in the hand. Now we might be able to cheat and actually hold it like sideways, like this, but it's not normal. I'm trying to keep this as looking as normal as possible, but the problem is I can't turn them completely sideways, and that's where the not if they're going to be running with the bow, running while aiming the bow, they can't be holding it sideways like that. We may have to make a compromise and allow for some inaccuracy on the actual aiming of the bow. I hope you guys can appreciate just how difficult this is. Looks like this is going to have to work, guys. God, that's going to look stupid. I think I'm resetting these right here. Those right there, I'm going to reset them. You seen how I kind of like stepped that up? It still doesn't quite seem to be enough though. That might actually be passable. It might be passable. That might be passable. But then this right here, man. Okay, Because obviously I can't have them holding it over here, because it's going to do this some funny stuff to the wrist. Let me... Yeah. Yeah, we'll just leave this. We'll leave these alone. Yeah, but leave both of them alone, because for the character creator characters, that's going to be a sensitive area right there. So you might want to try to pose that without actually rotating. And it's going to be hard in some cases, but try to do it without rotating the shoulders, because for those characters, they have really weak weights around the shoulders, and rotating those could cause serious issues. That's probably okay. I'm pressing G on the keyboard so that I can see what the wrists look like. I think that's actually still too much right here. I want to actually try to lower these a little. That looks better. That's really pushing it though. Jesus. I'm really stretching that string, ain't I? Yeah. I'll show you how to export this for this pose for the bow. All right, I think that's gonna probably be about as good as you're gonna get it. And that's pushing it. I can try to rotate this a little bit. That makes it a little bit less stressful on this elbow here. But, you know, I told you, posing some of these poses, man, can be really difficult to pull off without it looking just like absolute garbage. And depending on your character, you're going to have to like orient this elbow differently to prevent any weighting issues right here. If you have metahumans, then you're probably okay. Or if you have a character like this, then you're probably okay. But if you have like a character like a Reolution character, you're likely going to have serious problems. Just letting you know now. So don't blame me whenever it looks like garbage. Not my fault. I think I'm going to... that's too much, man. It's already losing its shape like that. I mean, that's like really... I think I've got that pulled too much. I think it's pulled too much. I don't think bowstrings normally stretch that far, but maybe we'll have to make an exception with this bow. It's just, you know, posing them any different than that, it's going to be hard to pull off. Just letting you know. So let's see. I guess that's passable. I can't really rotate this anymore. It's going to lose too much shape. And it's going to look too unnatural, I think. We don't want the actual bow to look like it's made of rubber. But we don't really want the string to look like it's made of rubber either. Yeah, it's kind of a hard one. I don't really know what to do with that. The hand needs to be stretched out if it's not going to look abnormal. I guess I'm just gonna leave it like that. I might go back and improve it later, but anyway, now you guys at least know what I was talking about whenever I was talking about the bows being difficult to pose for. I'm just going to select all three of these. And let me undo that. When you're selecting controls and rotating them together like this, make sure you're doing it in local space. Otherwise, you'll end up making them look crooked. And I'm just going to shift select these. All right. So now what we'll do is we'll save this pose so we can paste it later if we need to. I'm going to select one of these controls over here in the anim outliner, and I'm going to press Control A, and it's going to select all my controls. Oh, I can't do that if the bow's in the scene. Okay. I'm going to select the global control right there, and I'm going to scroll down until I run into the bow, and then I'm going to shift select all of those, and then I'm going to create one. And I'm going to call this the UEFN bow aim. And then we can also make one for the bow too. I'll just call it bow aim. Man, that was a long one, guys. Sorry. I guess I'll go ahead and split this up into multiple pose videos just because that one became so long. But yeah, anyway, if we come back over here, you should see that it looks like he's, holding the bow now. Let's go ahead. I'll show you how to export that pose for the bow. So you can come over here to this bow blueprint right here, and you should be able to just right click on it and bake animation sequence. And then we're going to right click here. So mine was under blueprints, held objects, guns, bow. I'm gonna make an anim folder. I'll just I'll just call it drawn, I guess. All right. And now we should be able to, And so now you'll see we have a single pose here for the bow, and then we have one for the character. And so, and just to show you that these are actually aligned, I'll just go ahead and close that. And I'll drag that one out here. And I'll drag that out here. Okay, right down here at the very bottom. And I'll drag this over on top of this one. And I'll attach it to the weapon L. And I'll zero this out. And you'll see that he's holding it perfectly, okay? So that's how it'll look whenever it's attached to his hand in the game. I'll see you in the next video.